Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week.
A little bit older than you.
And I'm not touching this topic. I'm not touching it.
Yeah. Mediocre, mid-table, rabble.
So I just want to be able to talk as much
If you
crap.
play a night game, he has to turn the bloodlines on.
No one would have believed that he would keep his job for as long as he had, but
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday Week. Tonight, we've got nothing to talk about because not much is happening apart from the big contract news that we've had because everybody's probably had the bank holiday off. Joining me tonight, I've got Simon, Charlie, and John. We're live, we're Grit, we're sorted. So if you want to get involved, by all means, get involved in the comments via whatever medium you're watching. To sound like Jim White, we're live on Facebook. I love the way he pronounces that. Quick interjection about Jim White, by the way. I was in that London on, it was yesterday morning, just before the playoff final. And there was like a big, Waterloo Station, there was a big group of Leeds fans all having a smoke outside the back door. And Jim was coming through with like some wheelie case. And he was about to walk through that door. And I saw him stop. I up these Leeds fans and walked the long way round. It was an absolute beauty of an evening. So that's fun. Simon, that playoff final were hilarious, weren't it?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to think of something witty to say. Although my next door neighbour's a Leeds fan, so my
with me.
Yeah. Well, I was going actually. That's a nice segment. I was actually going to say my Alexa has been playing New Order. Love will never tear us apart on repeat because my next door neighbour's a Leeds fan. It was nice.
That was nearly the countdown music for this show, actually, as I was going in. So listen, tonight's show is called Topic Tombola, but I know we Ash and the gang got Ash and Stevie and Gaz, I think, as well, got together on Friday night as we were all bank holiday up. I mean, John, that's not some shabby news. 3 years out of the Rulmeister General. What are you thinking?
Yeah, brilliant. We were all waiting with bated breath, weren't we, to hopefully get the news that we were all looking for in Danny signing that new deal. There was interest from other teams when it's come out now afterwards. I think we kind of knew anyway, but, Sunderland were interested. I think some Bundesliga teams were interested. But he's caught the Wednesday bug, which very few managers have done over the years, haven't they? He's caught the Wednesday bug. The fans love him. He loves the fans. He recognises the importance of the fans on the team and how we can spur them on. He gets that. I think he's kind of galvanised that as well in his time here. So he wants to continue his journey with us. He's obviously been promised, some funds. He's been promised probably less responsibilities. Like, when we talked about him, we don't want him booking hotel rooms. That's not his remit. So, we're hoping that's going to change now. But yeah, just we've been very lucky to drop on him after the mess of Cisco's and now to get him for, to sign another 3-year deal. I don't think there's a single Wednesday fan that won't be buzzing about that.
Now, Charlie, there's been some talk today that the sugar daddy approach is being employed. So, for example, instead of saying this is how much you've got to spend, he's going to walk into DC's office or probably send him an email at 11 o'clock at night and say, excuse me, can I have some money for this geezer? And DC is going to say, of course you can, or absolutely bloody not. And I assume it's probably going to be the latter. I mean, is that really a formula for success? We fell well within the parameters of FFP last season, so we might have a few quid to be able to spend this season and really nail our colours to the mast. What do you reckon?
I'm not against it. I think, obviously we've spent nothing for so long and we've not had that freedom, but I think sometimes you can go too far the other way. Like we know that, like from when Chancery first came in, sometimes just been like, here's a fat load of money to spend. The gut reaction sometimes is to kind of like spaff it all on big players. We've got big money, so let's get big money players in. And then if they don't actually then live up to expectations, you've spent it all. You've tried to you've tried to just get the big draws in. And I think actually doing it on a player-by-player basis, it suggests that there is money there if it can be used well, but not just this kind of like, right, I know I've got X amount of money to go, who can I buy for? It's a bit like doing a fantasy football where you're like, I've got loads of money, I'll buy all the good. And then you go, yeah, but I've got to, now I've spent too much here. That, like, whereas if you're taking everything as it comes. And I think, we've also got to remember that not a big price tag does not mean a big player always, especially not if you're Sheffield Wednesday. I mean, Rhodes is the
Jordan
best
Rhodes.
example. Exactly, it's the best example I can think of. But we have had others, and I think if a cheap player turns out to be shit, you've lost nothing as well. But I think it's going to be about strengthening the team in key areas. So I think as long as Rohl can make a case for a certain player, if he is then backed, then it works. I think that works really well. So yeah, I'm not against the sugar daddy approach. Please don't clip that.
I'm gonna clip it with you saying please don't clip that at the end of it as well to to really make sure. We've got a few comments come through, especially about Leeds United. We've got say hello to Ellen Drode for me, please. So that's going back on. I'm afraid was it Absolute Radio debunked it today and said it's from a while ago. That's
it was from last year when they did the same.
When they also bumped it up. Yeah,
absolutely.
Brilliant. And then Sharman has gone with I think my notes to Danny on LinkedIn help. So we're getting in touch. That's the best thing about the internet. Everybody's available. And then and then Sharman's been on again and said forget everything else as Charlie had her hair done. So we're bringing it to you. It's all the important stuff. So important breaking. Charlie's not had her hair done. So you can tell it's a summer, can't you? We haven't really got a game to talk about. I've lost all my notes. So Simon, coming up, Danny Rohl signed on. We're in. We don't know how much money we've got to spend, but there might be some there available. But we've also got some decent league fixtures that are coming in. Most notably, Leeds have stayed down. We've got Sheffield United back in the league. I'm going to put the teams now confirmed in the Championship up. There's a couple of meaty derbies in there. There's a lot of Yorkshire fixtures in there. I think Yorkshire football's getting a bit sold short. But there's some new guys. There's some new challenges in there. So, for example, Portsmouth have finally made it up. Luton Town have come back down. Another ground to tick off. Like Holly said in the group chat, has anything been mentioned about their away end? I don't know. And then Burnley coming down. I think they're going to struggle with their manager-in-chief moving over to Bayern Munich, apparently, which is absolute insanity to me. Who else has come up? I'm just trying to have a look there.
Oxford,
That's
Derby,
right, yeah.
and Pompey, isn't it?
I don't remember Oxford being this high up since about in 1980s, maybe. I don't know. It's been a while.
Yeah, this is going to be a mega year for Oxford, and fair play to them because they crashed a party in the playoffs, and the three teams that didn't get promoted in the playoffs last year when we went up have now absolutely shit the bed once again to Oxford United. So that's nice, isn't it? So looking at those fixtures, Simon, are there any that stand out to you apart from the obvious, as it were? Any new away days you fancy ticking off?
Oh, do you know what, mate? I think I've done every single one of those grounds. So looking at away,
even Plymouth.
Right. So I haven't done Plymouth, but they'll put it on a Tuesday like they normally do.
Yep.
They'll put it on a Tuesday away and Tuesday for them playing us at home. Pompey was a good one the other season when we were in League One. I enjoyed Pompey away. I think we all went to that and had a very good day. I'm always enjoyed the Oxford away game. It's a funny old stadium. It's very compact. Unfortunately, Coventry didn't get promoted, so we'll have to. That'll be our 800th visit to Coventry in the last 2 years. But obviously, your main ones stand out. You obviously Sheffield United, your Leeds. I've always liked the trips there. They're always feisty. I've got a bit of a soft spot for Norwich. Going away to Norwich, I like Norwich. And I also like Bristol as well. Because Bristol, the city itself, is a nice drinking spot afterwards.
It's a long drive back, though, isn't it? I tell you what, it's worth the travel lodge. As soon as the pictures come out, get your hotels booked at Bristol City. Charlie, Sheffield United start the season with -2 points. We've had a comment there that said it's chilly down at Bramall Lane. It's -2. Lad. But this, innit? What do you like with derbies, Chaz? Do they concern you? Because I don't like them. I don't like them.
I don't like them. I don't like them because it doesn't have to have any bearing on the rest of the season for it to still be like such a sticking point. I mean, people say stupid shit, don't they? They're like, "Oh, I don't even care if we get relegated as long as we beat them across road," and you think that's nonsense. Like, that's a crazy thing to say. But I think it's used for everything, isn't it? Like, the clips of like most recent losses, most recent wins, whatever, are like thrown at stuff. So I think, yeah, I'm not a big fan of them. However, given what us having a derby, well, 2 derbies really, if you think with Leeds as well, what that represents for us is big, if that makes any sense. Like, the fact that we are now having to face them means that once again, like, we're back in the same league, and therefore, maybe that chasm is starting to close a bit between how far they've been flying and how far we've been falling. So as much as they're a bit shit pants scary, I think, well, at least it means that we're on something of an even footing with them now. So yeah, who knows?
We've got some questions here, John, here. So we've got Stu's been on, and he said, do you think Leeds shit in the bed blows our chances of signing Jan the Paper Boy Pervader? It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because had they have gone up, our chances of signing him would have been significantly better. But let's be honest, they got to the playoff final and lost by 1 goal without Pervader. So do you reckon that local bias might play a role in that?
It's interesting because depending on which rumour you believe, the Leeds are meant to be like £190 million in debt. So there's going to be a fire sale there, apparently. Although they've got players that they loaned out when they came out of the Premier League, so they'll come back and maybe they'll sell them or, replace what they're going to sell. So I don't know with Pervader. It's a strange one. It really depends on how true it is that they really need to do quite a lot of selling off the players to finance his debt.
But isn't his contract up? I'm sure his contract's up, and I've not seen
Tom's just said he's a free agent. So I didn't know myself. I thought they might have exercised another year on him or something like that. You know how they've got these convoluted things in it. So if he's a free agent, is he somebody you take, or do we look at even better players?
I'd have him back. Absolutely have him back in a heartbeat. I thought, there's a bit of injury concern there. It's one of those players that seems to get tight hamstrings a lot. I don't know if that's our training ground or if it's just the nature of him as a player. But I thought he was one of those players that excited fans, got scared defenders, very positive, running at them. I thought I'd definitely take him back. If he's a free agent, it's just a case of wages, isn't it? So that's bodes well for us because one wouldn't expect that we're going to have a massive transfer budget to put, to get paid transfer fees per se. So and I think he'd like it to come back as well. Again, last season just created that feel-good factor, even though we're in that horrible relegation battle. The fans were on board, the players were on board, and Rohl united us all. So I think it rubbed off on all the players that play for him. So I think Jan Pervader would like to come back, if I'm honest. So for me, it's a no-brainer.
I don't know. I feel like you're right, but I just don't think we've seen enough of him. I mean, his performance against in that away day against Millwall, sublime, right? We've got the photo of him sat on the sponsor boards and stuff like that. But I just wish I'd seen a lot more of him before we chuck a 3-year contract at him. I hope we exercise a little bit of caution, because it could be one of them where he's got nothing to lose when it comes to play for someone else, wants to get himself in at the Leeds team so he plays well, and then as soon as we give him a contract, he might be shit. I don't know. I don't know. But Simon, there's a lot of comments about the quality of the Championship. Now, it was well documented last year, because I said it 1,000 times last year, that last season's Championship was really very difficult. With the teams that came up and with the teams that came down into the Championship, it was really hard work. I feel like it's lost a significant amount of quality with Southampton and Leicester and whoever else went up. Can't remember who's the other one.
Ipswich.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So with those gone, and the 3 that have gone down, I mean, Huddersfield, I actually had a monicum of sadness around Huddersfield going down, because they were in and around it all season, and they picked up some points when we did. So there was an element of we've got these points. We've won these games. I remember when we beat Millwall, they spanked somebody else, and then when we beat this team, they won somebody else, and they absolutely kept up against it. Personally speaking, I'd have liked to have seen in place of Huddersfield someone go down that got dragged into it, like Plymouth, like Blackburn, or maybe Stoke or something like that, to go, you thought you got away, but we've been grafting away down here. But there's been some quality out of the league, and now coming up, we've got Derby County are absolutely on the backside, but they're capable of winning some points. But then you've got Oxford as well, who don't really know what they're doing in this league. And we've had a few comments about it, sort of saying, hang on, I've lost them completely. No, I've lost them. Oh, there you are. So Fordy's been on and said 3 up and 3 down is not as strong as this season. So let's get into it. Let's talk about what our expectations would be this season. Where would you look at mid-table, or do we want to push for the playoffs, given that we've got a few quid to spend maybe, and we've got a decent coach, or what I mean? I bet you've not really thought about it, but since yesterday, obviously now we know who's going to be in the league. Where do you think we're going to be next season, Simon? Or what would be a good season for us?
You'd look at mid-table above. A good season will be top 10. But then you've also got to look at our form that we had from sort of Christmas onwards, when Danny Rohl started to get in a settled side. Bear in mind, a settled side of 11 players who weren't his players. He brought a couple of loans in, but he was basically making the silk purse out of a sow's ear. And if you look at that form, we were what, top 8. We were knocking on the door of playoffs. If he's allowed to bring his own players in and have the summer, which he's going to have, then it's only positive, isn't it? In regards to teams coming down, you look at all 3 of them. Obviously, Luton were never an established Premiership side. They'd worked their way up, flirted with going up, and then eventually did. But I think everybody's sort of first one to come back down was always going to be Luton, and yet Luton were the team that actually looked like they weren't going to come down out of Burnley and United. Burnley, United seem to have become teams that like Norwich were and now have faded away into the Championship, but very much a yo-yo team. West Brom were the same. The teams that came down, Leicester and Southampton, were very well established Premiership teams with Premiership facilities, Premiership academies, etc. There's only ever one way they were going to go, wasn't it? And that was back up, because of this huge amount of selling potential with players just to buy the way back out of the league. Those that have come down, United have got financial issues, the -2 points. I don't know a lot about Burnley. Leeds, I've read that today, that they've not been paying certain transfer fees. So if they ain't going to get the money pulled from somewhere, then the EFL are going to come in and put some sort of points deduction on them. So this season strikes me, looking at that league, of probably one of our best chances of getting out of it, like we had probably 9 years ago when we played Huddersfield in the playoffs and shit the bed against them. Because trust me, if we'd played Reading in the final, we would have gone up.
Absolutely. Now, before I come to you, Chaz, a few people have put their thoughts on where Wednesday might finish next season. So Fordy's gone with, I reckon, Wednesday top 8. Mad Ward has said that I think a solid top half, maybe pushing for playoffs. Smashing Tom has gone a bit further afield and gone anything below 10th isn't ideal. However, I'd take 18th with a massive improvement to our setup outside. Can we get a beer at half time? Par exemple. You know what I mean? Holly said that her dad would have said that we're going to piss the league, but having known him, I think he said that every single year. But you got to keep the family tradition going, HI. I like it. J Boggs has gone with aim playoffs to maintain Rohl's ambition, although I'd be happy at mid-table with no flirt with relegation. Chancer, coined the name off X, will want playoffs. He probably will, but that will depend on how much he's prepared to spend. And Simon, you're right as well. Our form table under Rohl did get us to 8th, right? So asking for playoffs and funding a playoff push isn't going to be beyond the realms of accept, and that's why it's exciting times to set ahead. So, for example, Run Punch Man has gone with a positive goal difference would be a start. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? But on the flip side of the coin, Liam Henderson said, in my opinion, for us personally, we have tougher games now with Sheffield United, Derby, Portsmouth, and the fact Leeds have stayed. And these are potential banana skins. And like we were saying about the derbies, no one wants them. They just ruin your momentum. And Matt Strickland agrees. Sharman says that they're going to be the champions of the championship. And Mad Ward says, with Danny, though, I think it's a work in progress. Might take time to build a full infrastructure and a solid squad. It might take 1 or 2 seasons, maybe the 3rd season of Danny's, but I don't know. What would you be happy with? Would you be happy with a mid-table, just turn up and see how it goes that week? And then Scotch has said the league is not as strong as last season by a long shot, and I think it's open season on the top 6. Chaz, are we going playoffs? Are we going Wembley again?
Honestly, I think really on paper, there's a lot to be played for in that, and I totally agree. I don't think it's as challenging as last season, but I think we're playing for different things. Like what we sort of said, like at the beginning of last season before shit hit the fan, like it was like, oh, we need to build on this momentum now, and then of course the opposite happened. But I think it's even truer this season. We've got to kind of build on that momentum because the players and Danny were playing different football. They were playing survival football. And I think that's very different. Like our ambitions were.
It's a different mindset as well, isn't it?
It's a totally different mindset. And I think there's still some pieces to fall into place. I think like the players that we were getting in as well, like we mentioned this a bit earlier, like with Pereda, for example, like he came in and he was there and he was passionate and it was great. But again, it's a little bit of it's a sinking ship. If it ends up sinking, that's what everyone expected. If you manage to plug up the hole, you're a hero. Otherwise, the boat just goes down. Whereas if anything, there's almost more pressure with a season like this because it's a clean slate and you're actually being judged on your proper football rather than your panic shit, the bad football. So I think I would be very, very, very disappointed if we are at any point struggling, I think is what I would say. I don't need it to be the playoffs. Jesus Christ, I don't need the stress of playoffs. I don't even really need us to be like challenging for anything. Like, you don't want to hover at like 7th or anything really annoying like that. But I'd just rather be like comfortably, we're not going to go down. We're just not going to go down. And just to see some good football where you're not like, every point count, like every equalizer, like, oh, instead of 3 points we're getting a point, oh, that's annoying, as opposed to oh god, that 2 points is going to cost us championship survival. So yeah, I'll just settle for normal heart rate level football, frankly, regardless. But I do think it'll be very interesting to see what happens because nobody wanted to win League One, nobody wanted to get promoted. I've got a mate who's a Bolton fan, and he was like, I've literally never seen anything so mortifying in my life. It was like the worst. But it's like, outside of Pompey, really, like you look at them all and you kind of go, it was nobody wanted it, nobody, so you don't really know how that's going to go. And I think, same with the teams that have come down. It's not like last season, like the likes of Leicester and teams that really like everybody expected to bounce straight back up.
It's Burnley and Luton.
Burnley and Luton and United, and I think Leeds missing out on going back up. It's that mentality, isn't it? It's that kind of like butting your head against another Wembley defeat, ha 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 ha, like all that kind of stuff. It really does take its toll. So I think, I think if we were ever going to do anything, maybe this is the season to do it. But I will not cry my eyes out if we don't. I will cry my eyes out if we are in that red zone. I can't do that again.
We've had some good sensible comments as well, actually. So, for example, Nathan said top 6 is a target, top 10 is a success, which is genuinely really sensible. I like that one, Nathan. That's comment of the night for me. John Duncan's gone with, we'll finish above Leeds and Blades, reckon top 8, maybe playoffs. Similar sort of comment, not too shabby. But then Dunderbird has come in and he's gone, we're getting our hopes up. I just hope we're not calling for Rules Ed when we're 13th and comfortable. Yes. I agree entirely, and Paul agrees. And then Mad Water's gone, fudge it, I'm a Sharman champions up the Shagging Wendy's. So, we can get carried away, we might not. And then Smashing Thomas said, I think this season is a real opportunity. We need to start our recruitment process fast. I agree. Weird to say, but Rotherham are doing fantastic in League One so far. They really are picking up Reece James and rumoured George Byers, but I believe there's also a rumour of him going to Birmingham, I believe, as well. We don't know. But I tell you what, Charlie, you're getting some fans here as well. So Matt Strickland, agree with Charlie 100%. Liam Henderson says Charlie's right. Expectation would be higher now. Could be dangerous, but it will all depend on signings. 3 or 4 decent additions, and who knows? Completely agree. And then United are going to finish the bottom 3. So that's nice, isn't it? But I've got Ash in the background telling me off. So I've got to read this out before I come to you, John, and talk about league expectations with yourself. Ash has told me to say, can everybody do us a little favour and hit the like button? It helps with algorithm thingies. Cheers. We're not scientists, we're not IT guys, so we're all about the algorithm thingies. But if you don't mind giving us a like or ringing that bell and whatever those YouTube guys that they say, hey, don't press the like, subscribe button, which is normally the bit when I stop watching, hilariously. John, what about you? Where do you think? How do you think next season's going to go, or what would be a realistic expectation for yourself?
Yeah, it's a funny one. It's such an unpredictable league, isn't it? The Championship. I mean, we should have gone up automatic, didn't we? And we had to go through the playoffs, and then, as we know, Ipswich pipped us to an automatic spot. And I know they spent some money, but how many of us would have thought Ipswich would have gone up top 2 in this season's Championship? Nobody would have called that, would they? Really? They might have said they pushed on, flirt with the playoffs at a massively high expectation level, but to go up top 2. I don't think many outsider Ipswich would have even thought of that. So you just never know. You look at those teams and you think, there's the teams coming down from the Premier League. They'll have the parachute payments money, including United. I know they used to play cricket at Bramall Lane, but did they really have to go and concede 100 just to, make that feel like a cricket game again? So,
they're on their arse, aren't they?
Cricket season.
They're on their arse.
Yeah. So you don't know what's going to happen with them. Burnley's lost, or could be losing, company to Bayern Munich. Somebody buy his agent a pint, by the way, because that's
how somebody who's got a better agent than Brian Laws when he went to Burnley himself and managed to go from Burnley to Bayern Munich. Was that where Brian Laws was supposed to go after it went to shit at Burnley? I don't know. Who's his mega agent in charge?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so they'll be looking for a new manager. Luton will probably stay as they are and use the resources wisely. I think they made some shrewd signings and were perhaps a tad unlucky. They just didn't quite have enough quality. I thought Ross Barker was a great signing for them, but he'll probably move on now. So I think expectation-wise, obviously it's difficult to say until we start seeing the calibre of players that are going to come in and what we're going to sign. I'm really hoping that I'm not putting 2 and 2 together and thinking that Hansi Flick taking over at Barcelona would work in our favour, being big friends with Rohl.
We're going to get Rodri 2.0.
Maybe we could source a few Barca youngsters into the team, which could be quite exciting. But if Danny Rule's targeting top 10, then I'm targeting top 10. I'm with Danny. I'll go with that because he's given me no reason not to trust him and believe in what he sees for the club. So I'm right with Danny. I'm saying top 10.
I'm not ready for us to get on Danny's back. I'm not mentally prepared for that bit where it inevitably falls to shit. Because he's not going to be here 25 years, is he? He's going to be here 2 or 3 seasons like an EFL manager is. And I'm not ready for us to get on his back. Part of me now, because I love him so much, I would prefer him to get snapped up by a massive club. You know what I mean? I want a Premier League club to go, come on now, Danny, stop buggering about with that lot. Let's go and win some Champions League games, which I'll be mega pissed off about, don't get me wrong. But I'd rather that than us turn on Danny Rohl after what he did last season.
I don't think we've seen a manager that's been taken to heart by the fans in forever. Even Carlos had his critics, and I do think that if Darren Moore had stayed and he could have been looking at the exit door from some of the fans. There were certain fans who wanted rid of him the season before, certainly after Forest Green and going into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So Danny just seems to have, I wouldn't say he's untouchable, but I think he's got far more than 15 games before the fans get on his back. I think they'll see him, if he's allowed to do what I think he's going to be allowed to do in regards to helping in the infrastructure of the club as well, behind the scenes, as well as the players, he's going to have a very long lead before fans turn on him.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, I think, are sort of echoing that type of thing. So we've got Tommy. I can only see Danny leaving in one way. Someone chucks some changes, chucks in for him, and steals him. But I think, but this is the best comment from Sharman here. It says, "I think Danny's enough credit in the bank that if it wobbles, we'll back him." And I feel, you know, given the
Absolutely.
way he galvanised the team with the, you know, the mental issues that come with losing every week and managing to turn that round into a team that just say, we all saw that graph where we sailed across the bottom and then went whoop at the end. That was
superb.
absolutely beauty. And that music, I think I was humming for about 2 weeks. I can't remember it now, but I was like, all I've got is the countdown music from our show in the end. And then Scotch has gone with erect a statue of Rohl today. So, you know, let's get him up there. Let's do it. But I tell you what, Chaz, DC's just sat with Danny Rohl, right? He's just pulled out the comeback of the century. The fans love him. You know, he comes from a rich pedigree of coaching and the background of stuff like that. Wouldn't you like to know how close his new wage is compared to what Darren Moore asked for a year ago? Like, it was the first thing I thought
That's a
about.
really good point. That's a really good point, actually, because if you think about like the how can I put this without it sounding like the bargaining chip that Moore had? It was like, you asked me to get us out of this league, and admittedly, it took me 2 seasons to do it in an insanely competitive season, but ultimately, you know, by the skin of our teeth, we pulled it off. That level of a bargaining chip, you would have imagined on paper would not be that unreasonable. Not really. Like what you know, what we were doing and how well we played. But for whatever reason, believe who you want, like whatever kind of fell apart there, it wasn't right. It wasn't enough. It didn't work out. With Rohl, it's like you're looking at someone who, as well as that bargaining chip, as well as that kind of, look what I achieved, you asked me to do the impossible, I did the impossible, arguably a much more, really, it was a more impressive achievement. Like, yeah, the highs of like the season before, but really, like, what the more impressive thing would have been more managing to not get us promoted with how many points we've got. So it's like, that there's that bargaining chip, but then at the same time, there's also like the added pressure from other clubs wanting Rohl. There's the fact of like, bless him, in
which
interviews,
all drives
like,
the price up, right?
It does. It all drives the price up, and also like Rohl in interviews, I think he very much cops for this kind of like, well, first of all, we're all like absolute insane conversation, like analysis merchants. Aren't we? We're like, what did he mean by that? He looked to the left. Oh my god! Like, we're all becoming like flipping Sherlock about it, but there was an element of like, he was quite cagey. Everything was very cagey, and we're very used to the disappointment. There was almost as much reason to not keep him as to keep him. You know, that there was as many things that you could argue would go against him as for him. Mostly Chansiri always like buggering up every deal we've ever had. So there must be something different this time. Whether it's that, I don't know, Chansiri's learned his lesson, he's recognised these protests, he's recognised the worm he's turning, he has seen the financial benefits of remaining in this league and being competitive in this league, the pull that Rohl has with players, he's clearly business minded. I'm not saying Moore wasn't, this is not me slagging Moore off at all, but like, Danny's very much clearly like what he wants, what his standards are. And do you know what? There's probably a lot to be said for someone who isn't the nicest guy in football. Like, that's Moore's reputation, isn't it? He's a really nice guy. And sometimes in a board type business situation, you actually need someone that's going to go in with that German kind of cold sensibility and be like, if you do want me, you do need me, and this is what I will accept, nothing less than X, Y, and Z. Maybe that's how it's gone. But yeah, I don't think Danny is a settler. I do not think he is a settler. And I genuinely feel that if things were not exactly as he wanted them to be, he would walk, regardless of how much he's wanted to stay here. I feel like if Chansiri was like, well, I can't do 4 of these 7 things, it'd be like, well, like, gone. I think it would have been thrown out. So oddly specific. 7 things. So yeah, I do. I just can't see him doing it.
7 specific things.
7 specific things.
I tell you what, Chaz, there are some people agreeing with you on the interwebs as well.
God,
so
again, getting a reputation.
Liam has gone with Charlie for Prime Minister. Too much so spoken, making me very uneasy. And then a lot of people have weighed in about the Danny Rohl, Darren Moore kind of thing, because you're exactly right. You know, how close is Danny's wage to what Moore wanted? But then when you put in these factors, what was the biggest job? What was the biggest achievement Was it more getting us out of the league, or was it Danny turning around our fortunes like he did? I would argue for the latter, because we've got a couple here saying more deserved to start the season, but Chansiri lost faith in him after Forest Green, and he's right, because March and April this time last year were absolutely diabolical, and that. But we did get the shit, you're all shit voice note from Holly, though, so and put that on your podcast, which is now in the opening credits. So we're all right with that. But then Artemis has gone with, I think Danny has used his charm on Chansiri. Jay Bloggs has gone with the more. Let's forget about Chisco. To Rohl was a master stroke, and then this one's a good point from Graham saying, can you imagine the pressure / uproar if DC wasn't able to encourage Rohl to stay? Rohl definitely had a stronger bargaining position, and I think he's right. I mean, where do you sit with it, John? What was the biggest achievement of the last 2 years? And I'll come to you about it, Simon, as well, because I think it's interesting. Because me personally, it was when after the Chisco period and when we concede a goal, everybody's heads went down, and to turn that around, I thought was genuinely impressive. However, Darren Moore went on a 23-game unbeaten streak.
Yeah, in an easier league, to be fair. I understand your point. For me, I don't think it's close in comparison. The bigger achievement was definitely Rohl keeping us up. We made the worst start in club history. 2, we made the worst start in championship history. I don't think we'd won a game till about 12-13 or something like that. So we beat Rotherham at Hillsborough, which incidentally would have ended up being comfortably the worst team in that division. So there weren't much manoeuvrability in terms of like ripping up the squad and starting again. They had to go with what he'd got. I think there were people raising an eyebrow. People who know Danny Rohl were raising their eyebrow that he took the job on, because they were saying, the quarter of season's gone and the rock bottom without a win. How was he going to turn this around? So he came in and it didn't faze him, didn't scare him. He took the play. I think day one they were doing watching videos about how he wants them to play. His ethos was coming out straight away. He recognised that I think he said something like, yes, we need to focus on the defence, but first thing I need to get him doing is playing my way. And he put his instant stamp on that. And it was, we had some dark days as well. Huddersfield away was absolutely atrocious, and that, I think, that put us back to another 8-point gap, and we were wondering, are we going to do it? We're going to do it. I did say, I think it was about a month before the end of the season, I thought we'd take it to the last day, and I think I was more hopeful than confident. But he did. He absolutely did.
Yeah.
And we had to win. Well, we didn't have to win, but we won that last game. But had we lost, we'd have gone down. So incredible. And I just think it absolutely eclipses what Moore did. And I love Darren Moore, and I love that season, and I love the happy ending that we all wanted. But Danny Rohl, that no team will come back from that deficit again. They might use us as a blueprint, but I can't see another team repeating what we did.
Absolutely. I mean, Simon, where do you sit on it? I mean, if you look at Stu's comment here that says Moore will go down in folklore for what he achieved, but he's a Robin Reliant in comparison to Rohl as a well-oiled Audi. His approach and fresh thinking is worth so much more than what Moore could have offered. You agree?
Yeah, they're chalk and cheese, aren't they? Moore is, I would say, he's probably one of the old school managers now in regards to he's ex centre back. You look at Danny. Danny's coming from the German model, the RB Leipzig, the Red Bull model, where it's all about analytics. It's all about, he has a, going back to
nerd. He's a nerd.
He is. He's an XG. He's a football nerd. He. You only have to listen to his the press conferences after a game, and I think the only one he's ever really shown much emotion in was after the Middlesbrough game, which again I think endeared us to his hearts, because we all watched that, went to that, and went, that was dreadful. That's probably the worst performance, even when we've lost 4-0 against Huddersfield, 6-0 against Ipswich. The way the players didn't turn up at Ipswich was pretty crap. And he actually expressed his anger. And I think that was the first time we actually
put it on the players.
Yeah, he showed, he keeps his emotions close to his chest, and he showed his anger about that. but very much so. And in regards to what he's earning and what his team are earning, I actually think he was earning more than Moore wanted when he joined us back in October last year. I think if you look at the coaching staff and the team he's brought on board, they're next level. And I know I've mentioned it in the past. That's a Premiership coaching squad he's brought in. And Moore there was him and 2-3 others, weren't there? And it was a traditional goalkeeping coach, defence coach, this, that, and the other. Where we've now got well-being coaches, psychiatric coaches, we've got mental coaches. He's going about it, and like I say, after every game, he analyses the game. He sees where we missed. He sees it in quarters, halves, thirds, what position the pitch weren't performing here and there, and that is where the coaches, certainly in Germany, and the coaches that we're now seeing in the Premiership succeed, that they have these massive machines behind them. You know, I mean, when was it that you saw somebody sat on the bench with a laptop and then somebody sat up in the gods with another laptop that's showing heat movements? So it shows you where the players are. I mean, can you imagine Big Ron having that? Or, yeah, these, exactly, bin bags, and I don't think Darren Moore sort of subscribed to that type of coaching.
But bear in mind, this is the same Darren Moore that got in a psychologist after the first leg, after the 4-0.
Yeah,
didn't sleep, got a psychologist in, and got them to manifest it. And I feel like that game specifically, that comeback, as amazing as it was, I'm going to sound like a miserable old sod here. We shouldn't have had to do it in the first place.
No, sorry, Charlie. I think probably going to say the same as you. We should never have been there in the bloody first place, should we? We should never have been there in the first place. And for some reason, it probably identified.
We shouldn't have been in the playoffs in the first place.
No.
Yeah, the psychology should have been, okay, why have we lost to Barnsley and then gone to Forest Green against a team that haven't won all season and lost again? Rather than wait until we're 4-0 down second leg of the playoffs.
Yeah, let's start playing then.
I think it's like managerial style, like you're saying. I think you get your man manager or you get your tactical genius, don't you? And I think Darren Moore was very much more the man manager. Nice guy, got you playing for him, wanted to play for him, felt like a fellow player rather than manager. Him being an ex-player as well. Whereas Rohl, who didn't have such a sparkling playing career, blotted by injuries, got his head in the textbooks, got surrounded himself by world-class managers, and was able to bring that, like Simon said, that RB Leipzig sort of mentality and structure and innovation to wherever he's been, with Southampton and now with us. So he's very much more about the intricacies of the game, and you see that with players like Bannon saying he's never worked for a manager like Rohl before, and the stuff that he's learned from him is incredible, and he's taking his own coaching badges now. That's probably some influence from Rohl coming through as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think there's something to be said. Oh, sorry. I was just going to say as well, like, if Rohl's the brains, I mean, he is the heart as well, but if he's the brains, then Powell's the heart. And I think whatever Moore he had in spades, and it was necessary. And there needed to be that kind of belief. And I think he's a great person. I think, I was really upset when he went. And but I don't think everybody was. I don't think collectively, I think everyone was surprised, but not necessarily devastated. It was more than when Cisco came in and that kind of became more apparent. But I think when you look at Chris Powell, I think he represents that, like, the power of the mentality and stuff, and that, and you need someone that's there almost like good cop, bad cop a little bit. I would not have imagined I couldn't have imagined after, like, the Middlesbrough game, for example, Moore ever kind of letting the players have a bit of hassle. Even if that is what happened in the changing rooms, I don't think he would have ever come out and been like, oh, they were absolute shit bastards. Like, I think he would have been very fair and measured. And people don't always like that. They don't, we don't want to be lied to. We don't want to be kind of, and I think that's where we're all almost sometimes to a fault, where he's like the whole Marv thing, when everyone was like, oh my God, he's fallen out with him. He hadn't fallen out with him. He just didn't give a shit about talking about it. He was like, I don't care about that. I'm talking about this. And then you, like, flip that to kind of Chris Powell, who's like skipping around and being all dancey. And I think there's a lot to be said for its Rohl and the boys. That's the whole package. It's not just him. It's that whole, which is why I feel like we're not quite there yet. We still need to get Chris Powell nailed down and like make sure like all that kind of the other staff are there. But I think it's the perfect package is what we had, and that's why it was so essential for us to keep him, because it's united the club in every way. Yes, the fans on board, but clearly the players on board, but also the proofs in the pudding, the stats, the actual football sciencey stuff that is so alien to a lot of like older teams, and like that's all there. And I think, yeah, it's it still got a couple of bits. I think still got a couple of bits to sort out there. Until it's all done and dusted, it's still a little, I don't know.
I tell you what, we get this comment a lot, and I was on moonlighting on another podcast called Sporty COS anyway, and it was an experience that was great because I got to talk about my own experience with Sheffield Wednesday. We've had a number of people on this show join the My Wednesday segment talking about their experiences following the club, and I got to do mine a little bit, and then we were talking about coming up this season, and this phrase gets used a lot, Moneyball. So Scotch has been on and said, we'll be playing Moneyball next season, getting players based on statistics. A lot of people seem to think that Moneyball, because it's called Moneyball, is chucking a load of money at stuff, but it's not. There's a really famous scene in that movie where they talk about, but can he get to first? And then these old crusty old geezers are like, well, I don't know about his attitude. Yeah, but can he get to first? And I feel like this is where the game's going. Whether you like it or not, we are going to be based on XG and how quick you can run into this place and possession ball and all the boring nerd stuff that comes with it. I mean, John and I both follow the Miami Dolphins in the NFL, and there's a nerd in charge there as well at the Dolphins in Miami, don't you? So every sports team now is getting taken over. When the Bible said the meek shall inherit the earth, that's what they meant. The nerds are going to be managing in the bloke sports. That's what's happening. The meek are inheriting. They're on the way. They're coming. But let's have a look at some of these comments here. So Graham's gone with Charlie's Common Sense Corner. Big fan of that. I might make a jingle for that, Chaz. And then Ash, who's on our account, has gone with still have nightmares about that day. Can we draw a line under it and never mention it again? Ash. Every time it gets mentioned, you reference that hill, and when you reference that hill, there's a roll goes back in your eyes, and you can see that dark and stormy. Like in those movies where they're having flashbacks and the plane goes, you know what I mean? That's Ash talking about Forest Green. And then John's gone with let's slag off the Chancellor, then ask him for his money. Wow. It's a fair comment. It's a fair comment, but I'm going to call him out when he drops his ass, and I'm going to say well done when he's done well. It's as simple as that. The tickets are too expensive. You got Rohl and the team in, fair play. The facilities at the stadium are an absolute shit show. Get them sorted. However, we stayed up and we got promoted last season. You don't have to be so polarized on everything, John. Yes, spend your bloody money. You're the chairman. That's what you're here for. It's mutually beneficial. Club does well, you make more money. We're happy. Let's do that, shall we? Coming in here with your comments. This is the measured show, lads.
What I did like though was what Rohl's honesty in saying, listen, you want me to stay? We've got to sort this training ground out. We've got to make some improvements here and there as well. And I think I think somebody took a picture of Hillsborough. I think they're already relaying the pitch there. So that's one step, and that needed doing. I don't even know if the Deso thing's a thing anymore, but we did once have that, didn't we? And I think they're trying to repair the dome and stuff. But to have that sort of thing, like, look, I could take you where you need to go off the field as well as on the field, but you'll need to trust my judgment. I've come from Leipzig. I've worked with the German national side. We can make small improvements off the field, which can make giant leaps on the field. So let's go ahead and do it. And I like that honesty about him and that willingness to push Chancellor to do that, because he's not done a lot, has he, when it comes to the off-field stuff. The training ground still hasn't had much of a facelift, and he's been here, X amount of years. Stadium's had a lick of paint here and there, and obviously, we eventually got the screen and the Deso pitch, but there's still things that need doing there, aren't there? Massive things that need doing there as well. So fair play to Danny for highlighting that we need to get better off the pitch as well as on it.
Yeah, absolutely. It felt like a bit of a dig, like, you know what I mean. But now I've just got the comments kicking off with people just going, "He slag goes off, so he asked us for money, and that's what we're doing now."
True.
And then we've got Dunderbird's gone, "We can slag him off, or it works for our club," and genuinely he's crap at it. And then Tom's gone with Fudge dropped his massive chopper, bleeding neck. That's a different website, Tom. You have to subscribe to that one, bro. But there are a few things that need doing around Hillsborough, and I feel like I get the impression with Chansiri, and Simon, correct me if I'm wrong, or whether you disagree. I feel with Chansiri, if you look at this 8-year tenure that it's been about to be 9, he came in guns blazing, 2 seasons, playoffs, yeah. Then obviously we had to pay for that, and then there's been a few. I'm going to say his advisors have absolutely done him dirty, because he was very naive in what football people can be like. Paxau being one, even Glenn Roder, bless his soul. That, you know, there are people that have come into that club, been gone. Hey, how's this going to help me out? And then gone. And then as a result, the last 4 or 5 years, I feel that it's made him a bit once bitten, twice as shy type of thing. And I feel like this season specifically, I feel like we're just going to turn a corner. I feel like his trust is coming back somewhat. How do you feel?
I think when he steps away from the club, and because we go through at the start of the season a statement every week, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously when Cisco joined,
points, didn't we?
Yeah.
More statements than shots on goal. And then he had this tirade, didn't he, when he was unveiling Cisco about Carlton Palmer and having a right go at Carlton Palmer, and the wheels had properly come off. But he is best. He always strikes me as being the best chairman is when he says nothing and just sits back and lets the management team do the job.
Yeah.
And he has done that. For the second part of the season, when Danny was revealed as manager, I can't even remember him revealing Danny. There was photographs of Danny stood on the pitch in a very nice beige jumper, and then some sort of catalogue shots of him in the stand. And that was about it. And we've not heard a dicky bird from him since. There was a bit of a statement, weren't they, after he signed his contract on Friday. What he needs to do is listen to that group that Danny's put together of how to run a football club. I mean, these guys have, well, Christ, Danny was assistant manager for the German national team. You know, he's coached under some...
He's met some guys, knows his stuff.
Exactly. And he's coached under some of the best managers in the world. So these are the people at the heart of the club who want the club to be successful, because on their CV, it looks fantastic. You know, the people who are advising him don't give a flying rat's ass what's on their CV. As they're in it for one thing, and that's money. They're in it purely for money. Whereas we've got the coaching staff are there because eventually they will go somewhere bigger and better. So they want the club to succeed. They're not in it for the money. They're not a team. They're a young team who want Wednesday to succeed. So that's why they're there. So Chansiri, listen to them. If I believe there is some amount of money being spent on the training ground, not to the point of really we could do with moving, couldn't we, and having a new training ground somewhere else. But you know, he just needs to sit in the background. He needs to put his hand in his pocket. You know, he needs to be less in control and let other people take control in the, you know, things like catering. For Christ's sake, you know, the catering facilities are absolutely shocking and not improved forever. I mean, I feel a little bit sorry for him in a way, because Christ, the stadium's not been improved since 1996. You know, we were in the Premiership then. What did we spend the money on? We spent it on players' wages and chasing that dream of staying in the Premiership. You know, and then
what a dream, staying in the league.
And then again, Chansiri. Just think about how much money he spaffed on Alman Abdi, you know, and George Boyd.
Well, I tell you what, Simon, we're getting a few comments here of people just sort of saying, like, I think Chansiri is learning. He's got a lot to do to rebuild a relationship, but I think he's learning. You know, are they being optimistic? Artemis, again, I'm feeling a lot more optimistic about Chancer, but it's still very small optimism. But then Aisha's come in and said, even when he gets good advice, he doesn't listen to it. Remember Katri and Mel, who tried to keep his mouth shut at the fans forum. He thinks he knows it all. But that was going back now probably about 5-6 years. I thought Catriona was brilliant. I absolutely loved her. You know, I still follow her on Instagram. I'm absolutely stalking her to death, don't get me wrong. Because there's an element of, she was a big, powerful woman. And I kind of liked that she called the Charlton fans customers, because she did, you know, that meant she was business. And I kind of liked it about it, because I know all football fans get all really upset when they get called customers. They're like, oh my God, you can't call us customers. That's what we are. We are. But we're not allowed to say it out loud. We're not allowed to say it out loud. But then Sharman's gone with, I think Chansiri genuinely cares about the club. He just needs to trust in Danny and the team to guide and keep his beak out of interviews, which is essentially, I think, all we're after. You know, I feel like that's what we want. But then Mad Ward wrote spot on, so when he keeps his gob shut, he's all right. And then Ash went on and said, Mad Ward, are you on about Sai or Chansiri? So you know what I mean? What about you, Chess? Do you think he's starting to move forward?
I mean, yeah, I think it's so easy to think of Chansiri as like some like evil mastermind or something, like he's really got it in for us. And above all, what he is a moron. He is, like, you know, and I'm not even trying to be really controversial. He's stupid, and like a lot of people with lots of money, you don't buy a football club because you're like, this will make me trillions of pounds. You buy it out of some kind of weird hobby or interest,
trophy wife,
or
isn't it? Yeah.
it's just a thing to do, and that's fine, kind of. You know, it is what it is. He's not the only person with loads of money that buys something random. That's probably the first thing I'd do if I had loads of money. I also think that no one, no matter how rich you are, would bother with the headache of the club. Would bother with the headache of running a club. But I also think he's a very proud person. And I think he's a very spiteful person. I'm not his biggest fan. I think some of the things that he has done and some of the ways that he has handled situations has been pathetic. And I think especially, you know, it's already hard enough being the big money bag sat at the top of the pyramid, and the pyramid made up of working class people trying to go and see football, and you've been like, you can pay to keep lights on. Then we should have been, you know, took a leaf out of the French's book and bloody guillotined him. But what you can do with someone who is inherently not evil but just stupid is you can actually appeal to their better nature. You actually can. Evil billionaires, evil millionaires, no, they just go no, and they kill another puppy. He's actually just stupid and just needs someone like Danny, who is very, very smart, to kind of puppet master him around. He just needed, perhaps, he doesn't like people being mean to him. I actually think as well that while Wednesday fans might be very fickle and we might turn on a dime, I also think we turn back on a dime. Look how much we slag a player off all season. Look at Windass. We slag Windass off all season, and he comes in and scores 2 goals, and we're like, he's the greatest footballer we've ever had. Chansiri, if we have one fantastically competitive season in the chat, and he backs and he does everything, he backs Rohl and ticks every box, we'll be let's have another elephant statue. Like, we'll love him. Like, I really do think we will. So I'm not gonna start buying t-shirts with his face on, but like, I genuinely do think that there's no reason why an idiot can't learn something. Like, you know, a bit of a teacher monkey how to play the piano or something. Like, it's possible to do, you know, it's possible to do. So yeah, sorry, I got a bit. I'll put my box away.
You are queen of the internet right now, Chaz. After that, I'm going to put some fantastic music behind that. Everybody's agreeing with Charlie. John, I was going to come to you with that question, but I won't want to follow that, so I'm just going to move on. I'm going to move on to something else. So listen, so there is a book coming out, a chap called Pete Holmes, and he's watching this evening, and he's after some information from you guys. So if I just get up the information that Stevie sent me earlier on,
wasn't me,
and I'm going to read it verbatim. It said the book is called The Greatest Ever Comeback, and it's a collection of people's stories and the events around the night and their memories and recollections. There are pictures of a lot of people who were directly involved in the night. I've got a few people involved as well that, you know, in the Wednesday fraternity that we all might know about. So what Pete is looking for is some, in fact, Pete, if you want to put a comment on, I'll pop it up. You're looking for photos and experiences of people that want to be part of the book. So it's given me some information in terms of how you can get hold of him. So if you want to get hold of him on the socials on X, he's Chunky Boy 61 on X, also known as Twitter, the artist formerly known as. And you can also email him at thegreatestevercomeback@hotmail.com. If you get in touch there, reach out to Pete. Pete's writing a book and he wants to speak to some Wendy fans about that. But honestly, it sounds like a hell of a project, and it's going to be the biggest comeback. Well, it's going to be a book about the big comeback, which we're all very excited about. And we're still talking about it now. Now, before I wrap this up, we've got no previews to do. Hopefully, Danny's going to sort us out a pre-season tour in Germany, either St. Pauli or Hertha Berlin. I'd be a big fan of that. Cologne, I'd like to go and see. So, if we could sort that out and we can get some lovely German beer, that'd be lovely. In the interim, does anybody have any other business?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But what we've got there is Sharman saying he's not going to Google Chunky Boy 69. I think it's Chunky Boy 61. Don't Google Chunky Boy 69. That'd be weird. We've also had a comment about the sweepstake. Someone's asked us about that. Ash is going to draw it out next week. Ash, can you give me some information and put it through? Artemis is asking about it yet, but we are going to draw teams for the Euros. A sweepstake will get done. It's not going to get done tonight because Ash has still got his own work to do. But listen, thanks a lot for joining us this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I tell you what, Chaz, I was worried about us not filling some time, but you've managed to pull that off, haven't you? That was actually impressive. Pete, if you want to, I know, innit? If you want to get in touch with Pete, don't forget it's Chunky Boy 61 on X, or let me get that email again for you. It is thegreatestevercomeback@hotmail.com. Thanks a lot for joining us, and see you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday week, bringing you football analysis.
He came in. I think he scored a goal.
Bringing you banter.
Yeah.
Bringing you responsible life hacks.
Met you wonderful souls at 10 a.m. for some shots.
The Wednesday week. 1, 2, 3, 4 live. I normally just turn up and phone it in.
I'm a little bit older than you.
That zero's gone, that goose egg's gone.
Also featuring player interviews. It's Mr. Lee Bullen, ladies and gentlemen.
Mr. John Harps, ladies and gentlemen. It's Captain Fantastic once again. It's Mr. Glenn Lubens.
Oh, it's Mr. David Stockdale joining us this evening.
It's Mr. Lloyd Owusu, ladies and gentlemen, who's joining us live on the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Carlton Palmer. How's it going, CP? You all right? Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media outlets, podcasts, etc.
The Wednesday Week 24-25 season. Join us next season.